Ctrl+Alt+ROFL, how stand-up comedy helps my tech career with Kashaf Salaheen. Yay! Hey, everybody.
Yay! Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the show. Hello. Welcome back. Well, not welcome back. Welcome to the show. We've met previously on other events.
Yes.
And you are near and dear to my heart. And and now you're finally on V Brown Bag as well. So welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I was talking to Chris before. He's just a bestie. He's just a bestie. It feels like we're just hanging out.
Oh, it's not
yes.
working
Well,
anymore.
oh wait, was it supposed to like do all the
the presenter overlay is not working. Oh well.
It's okay.
Oh well.
I know. We can imagine it.
Just pretend, everybody. Yeah. So it's been a hot second. The last time we hung out was Hashi Days, Hashi Talks, Hashi something.
One of the Hashis. Can't remember exactly what it was. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we haven't met in person though. I mean, I don't think we have. So.
Well, it's funny that you say that because apparently we were both at reInvent together this last year.
Yeah, and I just found out Chris is 6'8", so I was like, that's probably why I didn't see you, because I'm 5'1", and I'm like all the way here. And I actually remember at reInvent, somebody's like, "Where's Chris Williams?" And I was like, "Who's Chris Williams?" So I was like,
absolutely.
So I think we were both there, but we could have passed each other. I don't think we properly met there.
Were they saying it angrily? Because that's usually how people say, like, where is Chris Williams? That's usually the tone that I get.
I honestly, they were probably just like, "Where's Chris?" And I was like, "I don't know who Chris is, so can't help you."
No lo sé. This is my first day here. I have no idea what's going on. Awesome. So you actually are I don't want to give away the talk, but you've done some stuff in comedy, and without giving the talk away, what's your thing? What you do, man? What's going on?
What do I do? Well, we work together. I have my day job. I'm a solutions architect at HashiCorp. For those who don't know what that means, kind of like you work with customers and you help them solve their technical problems with a lot of different products. I am in our infrastructure product line, so Terraform, Packer, Waypoint, that sort of stuff. Yeah, and then I'm doing my master's part-time. So I am doing my master's in business, entrepreneurship, and technology. So I'm doing that part-time. Yeah, and I want to try to start my own business eventually. And then I'm doing
another entire trip to V Brown Bag. I mean, I have so many questions about that alone. That's amazing.
Yeah, we should talk about that later. I don't know if I've told you that I'm doing my master's. I can't recall if I've told you that before.
So we were like in the green room of that, and we had some banter, we had some chit chat, but we didn't I mean, when you're doing a show and somebody's getting ready to come on or something like that, there's always that nerve, like you pass information, but it's not like sit down, have a drink, like really get to know somebody. It's more like, hey, we have exactly 3 minutes and 42 seconds to kill time before this next person comes on. So how's your cat? And yeah.
You know what, that makes I can't remember what I've told people. I also don't want to just like repeat everything, but yeah, the entrepreneurship and stuff, it's a very interesting program. So I do school on the weekends. Basically I'm doing my master's, trying to get that on the weekends. So I have 1 more year left and I'll be done. And
that's super cool.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. But
that's is it a tech business that you want to get started, or is this like your side gig, but you really want to be like a baker, which I would greatly admire?
No, oh my God, I want to do a tech business, but I can't think of anything. And this is my biggest problem, because I think like you want to like stick to a solution where you're like, this is it. And I don't think I've had that aha moment yet. And I'm trying really, really hard to. But I do want to do a tech business or a nonprofit. I'm kind of interested in a lot of different things. So I am still working on it. But I think a lot of people in my class, they're just like the coolest people. Like one of them has like, they're doing like dairy waste. We have a lot of dairy waste, and they convert it into biodegradable plastics, which is just the coolest thing in the world, I think. I'm like, that is just, I don't know, like so innovative and stuff.
You said dairy waste, like
Yes.
like milk from cows, dairy.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which I've
You
like
turning
never
milk
thought about.
into plastics?
Yeah, and I don't know anything about the process, but that's what their company does, and it's very, very cool. So I get so like I feel like I get thrown off because I hear those ideas and I'm like, you know what my idea was? I can tell you is it was trying to stay in the correct lane. I have trouble driving and I don't know which lane I'm supposed to be in. I was like, I should make an app, and it tells you you have to be in this lane, and then
Mm.
you know because do you know when it like tells randomly you're off, you exit randomly? I don't know. That was my idea.
Okay, I absolutely love that idea, but I think Waze already does that. I think that it
It tells you what lane you're supposed to be in?
yeah, like if you're
Oh,
driving along in Waze, it says, okay, you're gonna want to be in the far right lane because you're gonna exit in a quarter of a mile.
no way. They stole my business idea.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's
I'm gonna sue. I've got a
I'm
patent and everything.
that is crazy. Okay, well, I didn't know that, but that was kind of my idea. So, anyway, I'm trying to just think about like what affects me daily. What am I
Mm.
passionate about? That sort of stuff. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. I feel like I'm really enjoying my job now, so I don't know if I'll quit it to pursue something first time full time yet, but
Now,
yeah.
do you when you said that you are an essay for hold on, I'm saying hi to Ariel. She said hey to everybody. Hey Ariel, how are you doing? When you're an SA, a solutions architect for HashiCorp, and you
Yeah.
do the infrastructure lifecycle tooling for us. Do you have a set number of customers that you take care of, or are you hot dropped
Mm.
into new customers and you get to see like crazy off the wall things all the time? Because that's what I used to do in consulting, but I don't know how
Yeah.
we do it here.
It is like I don't have dedicated customers.
Mhm.
Some of I think the more senior essays they might have developed those relationships organically. Like you've worked with the same people on several tickets, so maybe
Mhm.
they'll like request you. They'll be like, "Oh, like I've worked with Chris on like 5 tickets and he was okay, and so like I want him back."
More like I've worked with Chris on 5 tickets, and if I ever see him again, I will fire. I will sell all of my
they
HashiCorp
like
stock.
they
That's how
like
they'll do it.
unrequest us. They're like, "Please
Yes.
do not let it be Chris." No, that's
Swipe left. I'm done.
yeah, that's this one. But yeah, they're yeah, so it's all different sorts of customers, and we actually just did a reorg. So now I'm in pre-sales specifically,
Okay.
and a couple weeks ago we were kind of like pre-sales and post-sales, but
Mm.
now I'm just helping out with pre-sales. So it's like the newer customers and people who we might want to onboard. So I imagine it's going to be like a wide range of now customers too, who are just like trying to figure out Terraform, trying to figure out our products. Whereas the post-sales people are going to deal with the mess we've created in pre-sales, and they'll be like, okay, like, you know,
I don't know what you're talking about. The mess we've created.
you,
But the cool thing is that as a person that has had exposure to the post sale side of it, you're going to be very well suited to like make sure that
mm,
you're not making promises that the post sales implementation teams
exactly.
can't handle. So that's a good thing.
It's actually I think the best part because since I've been on post sales, like I've experienced that, and you're
Yes.
like, oh, somebody promised me this, and you're like, who promised you that? So like, I think being on pre-sales,
Give me names. I will kill them now.
but now you're in pre-sales and you're like, okay, like let I know what the post-sales people are gonna have to work with, so let me make their lives a bit easier and
Awesome.
explain the product well, give them resources, all that. We haven't done too much yet because the rework just happened, but pretty excited about kind of focusing on pre-sales. I actually think I think it'll be fun to have that sort of focus. So
And
that's
you're going to be amazing at it. I mean, your
thank you,
personality and your vibe and your knowledge
thank
is
you.
you're gonna knock it out of the park.
Ugh.
Hey Daniel, how are you doing? Welcome to the show again. Okay, so enough compliments. Let's get into the nitty gritty of this, shall we?
Yes. Okay. Um, you go ahead, Chris. Do you have anything?
Well, Kashaf. Well, oh no, you're upstairs. Kashaf, everybody. Ta-da!
No, I thought you were going to say something, so I didn't want to interrupt. Well,
That you're right. That was a horrible segue, but we at V Brown Bag are known for our terrible segues. We're like, so chocolate milk. Kashaf, go away with you. What do you think?
that's so funny. Okay, well, hey everybody. I am so excited to be here. Chris, thank you for having me. Today, I'm doing a little talk about Ctrl+Alt+ROFL or ROFL or LMAO if you're feeling a little saucier.
Spicy,
And
spicy.
yes, and talking about how stand-up comedy helps my tech career. And as we kind of mentioned, I'm a solutions architect at HashiCorp, and that's kind of my day job. And we can talk a little bit about what I do in the evenings. Okay, so little table of contents. I'll talk a little bit about how humor is used for innovation, stress relief, and resilience, and real life examples. And I'm so excited that it's just me and Chris today because Chris and I love to laugh, and I feel like it's just a fun. It's like it's very on theme for us, I think, to have this talk.
When you said that you did stand-up comedy at night, I was like, one, you're my hero, and two, that is terrifying to me. Like if I'd like to think that I'm funny. Like if I go to a bar, I can make people laugh. But if I had to get up on stage with a microphone in my hand and be like, okay, now make me laugh, Chris, like that kind of pressure would crush me. So I admire you so much in so many facets of like an essay, a comedian. I mean, you're amazing. That's why had to have you on.
Well, Chris, I need to have like a 10-minute talk with you every single day where you just compliment me.
Yes, go. We'll record it. We'll do it after this.
Okay, perfect. Okay. But yeah, I think the comedy thing is very scary, and I'll talk a little bit about how I got into it, but who am I? Why am I like even talking about this? I do like comedy, and I've always liked comedy. I think I have a special place in my heart for a lot of different comedians. They bring you through like the tough times. You watch a special during a certain time in your life, and it brings you back to that time. So back in January of 2023, I took my very first stand-up course, and I took it at this place called Second City. If people are familiar with it, it's I think in Chicago, New York, and Toronto. But it's a pretty big. I guess I don't know what it's exactly called, but they have different sorts of classes like storytelling and stand up and all this. And I was like, I'm just enrolling in the stand up class, and if this crashes and burns, like it is what it is. So at the end of that stand up class, you do a show, and some of my friends and family came to that show, and I think it was okay. Like I was just like, whatever. It's you go up there, the spotlight is so hot, and you're just like, now I have to make people laugh, and it's very, very stressful. So that was like February of 2023. And I was so terrified for like a year, and I didn't do stand up. And my next show was actually September of 2024. So almost 2 years later, where I was like, I'm going to start doing it again. Yeah, because I was like, it's scary. It's so scary. You're like up there. And public speaking, I think like everyone already finds inherently scary. But this is like public speaking, and you have to make people laugh. And you can tell when you're not doing a good job because people are not laughing. And you're like, okay, sick. Like, this is great. So I think like after that, in September 2024, I started doing shows more regularly. And I also took a second stand-up course also at Second City. And I've maxed out of their courses. They have level 1 and level 2. And now I guess I've graduated and I'm a comedian now. But it's yeah, thank you. And I think it's one of those things where I really pushed myself, and and even looking back, I am proud of myself because of how much I pushed myself to do this sort of stuff, because it's really honestly like it's so scary. Like I feel like before I don't even get scared of public speaking, but and even stand up I'm a little bit better now, but I still get very, very nervous. So that's a little background about who I am. I talked a little bit about my master's too. Also, just interestingly, a little bit about my background is I did a computer science and cognitive science double major with a psychology minor, and I'm really interested in like human behavior too. So that's where like that psychology minor comes in, and I think that relates to all the stand up and everything I do. I don't know. I'm very observational. And Chris, you should 100% do stand up. I feel like people like you, we need them in the stand-up community.
So we're actually the exact opposite. I have a CS minor and a psych major.
Oh, really? No way.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
People like to say we look alike too, so.
And we're twins. What? This is amazing. You're so tall.
Wait, that's so interesting.
And I'm so clean shaven.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. That's really cool. But I didn't know you had a psychology major. We'll talk about that. I want to know more about what you learned about that.
We have so
Yeah,
much to catch up on after camera.
I know. Unless people want to join us.
Right,
Who
right.
wants to- Okay. Yeah, so the importance of humor and laughter. So there's actually like there's studies about the study of laughter, gelotology, which is from the Greek term gelos, which is the god or personified spirit of laughter. And Chris, I know you have Greek origins. Did you know that? Have you heard of that?
I yes, I do. Helotology. I mean, well, the guy well, now that I've said that out loud, I assume that they're taking a derivative of the Greek word basically laughter
Yes.
or laughing, and turned it
Yes.
into a god form. So that's really cool. I didn't
Yes.
know that we called it gelotology. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, it's from the Greek term, and I was like, Chris will like this.
We have so much in common. Hearts.
It's always. But yeah, it's basically like it's interesting because it's laughing has been linked with like honestly helping your health, like lower cardiovascular disease. And there's also like different forms of like physical therapy. I don't know if you're familiar with like laughter therapy, like laughter yoga, humor therapy, that sort of thing. It is
Oh wow.
very strange. I don't know if you've done laughter yoga. I think I still need to get used to it, but I did it once a couple years ago, and you literally like are laughing while you're posing, and it's
Okay.
but it's so almost so ridiculous that you do start laughing, and then you're like, wait, this is actually kind of like it makes it light and easy. Like it's not a serious workout class, and I actually I think it could be interesting. I don't know if it's like my top form of workout, but I think it's really interesting that there's those sorts of things,
Hmm.
and even like um uh, there was like a study with cancer patients, and they went through a 7-week laughter therapy RCT, and they actually had significant reductions in pain. So there
Hmm.
is lots of studies that back up kind of the importance of laughter, both on a physiological level and a psychological level.
Hmm.
um, and also just like from a physical perspective, when we laugh, our facial muscles, our abdominal muscles, our lungs, we're kind of engaging a lot of things.
Hmm.
And it is also a group activity. So you're gonna laugh more when people are around. I know I personally don't laugh too much when I'm alone unless I'm scrolling a funny TikTok, but I tend to laugh a lot more if like I have somebody like Chris there and we can like talk back and forth. We find things funny, and it's kind of interesting the origins of that as well, because humor was developed as a survival mechanism for trivial collectives. So I think it's like just a social signal as well, like laughter, humor, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, Also, funny people, we always say like, if you're funny, you have a higher IQ. You're smarter if you're funny. That sort of thing. And I think it's because humor ultimately requires a level of cognitive and emotional ability, and we have and we also, when we're in those positive states, you have increased dopamine, and dopamine not only helps us feel good, but it's going to open up the learning centers of our brain, and then you can enable and sustain more neural connections, and then we become more flexible in our thinking. And even just looking at outstanding executives use humor more than twice as often as average executives. And I even when you think about it, like I like listening to people who are funny because they're more engaging. They seem like to me like, even if they are of a higher, like they're a leader and stuff, I think that humor can boost their perception of confidence, their status as well. You're kind of naturally gravitated to people who are funny. So a lot of successful leaders also use laughter and humor in order to enhance group cohesiveness and organizational structure.
Hmm.
Yeah, very very interesting stuff, and like how we can use it in the workplace too. But the purpose of this talk isn't necessarily it is to try to like get humor into everything, not take things as seriously. I know I am guilty of not taking too much too seriously, but also you probably have a hobby in your life that you can bring to work. And I always say you should bring your whole self to work. I know we talk a lot about diversity, but diversity of thought and who we are as people also is really important. So bringing like my stand-up lessons or any other sort of lessons I learn in my real life and bringing it to my tech job, I feel like is kind of what I want people to take away from what I talk about today. Okay, AI. Are you on TikTok, Chris? You know we have to talk about the buzzword.
Okay, I will admit that people have sent me TikToks, and I do have an account, and
Okay.
I'm not good at keeping up with it. I'm trying to get better at it. So
Mhm.
the short answer, yes. I do TikTok.
You know, TikTok is so, their algorithm, I don't know if you're on it, like where their algorithm knows you like that yet.
Oh, it immediately
It knows you.
sussed me out, and it was like, here is all. I mean, if I get on TikTok, I will lose 3 hours, and I just get mad at myself when I'm done with it. That's my problem with TikTok.
Well, right now I have like a time limit on TikTok for like 45 minutes, and then it tells you, it's like you reach your time limit, and I'm like, okay, ignore. Like, it's not a very useful
Yep.
thing for, because I'm just like, yeah, ignore. But the TikTok algorithm is absolutely insanity. Because even sometimes my friends send me a TikTok, and I'm like, that would have never come out on my page because it wasn't my sense of humor. And it's
Mm.
really interesting how they're like so curated. But we have to talk about just like AI in general. So there was like they tried to get ChatGPT to come up with an Onion headline. So for those who don't know what the Onion is, it's like a satirical news article sort of thing. And the one that was written by the Onion was "Man locks down marriage proposal just as hair loss becomes noticeable." And ChatGPT tried to mimic it, and they said, "Local man discovers new emotion, still can't describe it properly." And ChatGPT won. And actually, I think rightfully so. What do you think? I think theirs is funnier.
I do. I mean, it plays off of the fact that men are bad with emotions, which like, strikes to the core of most issues. But there's also that hair. I don't know. I mean, they both sting just enough to make them laugh, especially for me as a man with hair loss. I find both of these completely unfunny.
You know, I think that's why it's also like humor is so subjective. Like people can find this funny, and other people are like, that's not funny at all. So especially some of the Onion headlines, I don't find funny at all, and they're a lot of the times they're the really popular ones.
Well, not anymore. They're
Yeah.
getting too close to reality.
Yeah. Now
Hey,
you
that's
can't
not
tell.
funny anymore.
It's like real versus Onion.
Right?
And you can't tell. You can't tell.
Oh my
But yeah, I
gosh.
think the delivery matters a lot. I think we're a long ways away from like AI taking over at least my night job, because I think the delivery really matters. And
100%.
in the Onion, it's okay because it's like a written news article, but I think you can't get on stage and have like ChatGPT read a bunch of jokes, even though they could be funny. But I don't know. I feel like we're quite a ways away. But the delivery matters a lot with humor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have a lot of like memes in here, so because you know it's a joke, but I'm your father. No, I thought this one was cute.
I love
Okay,
it.
humor and innovation. There's another picture of me doing stand up, doing crowd work, I think. Okay, let's talk about humor and innovation. So, firstly, ideation and creativity. So, basically, laughter can help people solve problems that demand creative solutions, because you can have this like free flowing thinking, and you associate ideas and relationships more freely. And it's been shown in research that when you are in a lighter mood, people tend to have more eureka moments and more aha moments as well. So I think that's really interesting, and it also like makes sense. Sometimes you're having a good day, you just left an outing with your friends or your family, and you laughed a lot. And even on the drive home, you have like all these thoughts coming to you. And I've noticed that in myself. Like, I don't have good ideas when I'm in a bad mood. I have my best ideas when I'm in like a good, light, happy mood.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep,
I
100%.
think so. I don't know. Like, I think it's definitely, I think, like very easy to like when you're laughing, when you're in your group and you have that, it's easier to be creative. Then in terms of communication, when you can make jokes, it helps you connect with your audience. It helps you foster a level of trust. I think a lot of people think that telling jokes or being a bit lighter can harm your credibility and make you seen as like people aren't taking you seriously because you're telling jokes. But I think it helps make environments less tense, and it can help improve communication because they're likely to listen to you if you're engaged, creating that light mood, and you're helping create a relationship with like trust and collaboration. And I personally don't think like anytime I meet somebody and they're funny, I've never thought like, oh, they like are, I don't associate that with like not being serious necessarily in their job or anything. I'm just like, oh, I want to work with them because they're gonna make the hard times easier. Like you're gonna have situations at work where things don't work, and who do you want to be around? You want to be around the fun guy. You don't want to be around the guy who's like everything's messed up and this and that and stressing out. You want to be around somebody who's like, makes a little joke about it. It's kind of light.
I mean,
But
and to be perfectly honest, if you're in a place where somebody's like, no, you need to be serious about that, quit laughing. I'm like, maybe I'm in the wrong place.
yes,
I
100%.
even when things are like super bad, you can still find some humor in things.
Yeah, I think me and you are kind of similar in that sense. We're both like, I don't know, we're both very like silver lining. There's always humor in everything,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
feel like those are the people I personally really am gravitated towards to talk to, like regularly, just because I feel like it's just fun to talk to you, even if it's like work related, non-work related. You make things fun because it's funny. But yeah, and then also that kind of ties in with like the next thing with workplace culture. So I think when you do all of this, you create a level of freedom and psychological safety, which is ultimately necessary to share your ideas. So, and I also think with the workplace culture, this also it can impact like from the top down. So, in for example, if your CEO was like making a couple jokes or as a more lightheaded, more lighthearted during certain situations, then it trickles down to middle management and ultimately trickles down to the ICs. Like we feel like, okay, like we're taking our job seriously, but we're also able to have fun while doing it. And I think that creates a level of psychological safety as opposed to like getting reprimanded for every mistake and like all that. I think it all trickles down. And I think it's kind of the job of upper management to kind of set that tone. But as an IC myself, I do try to set that tone too. I just start trying to go to meetings and make it more fun. And if you have people like that too, it helps to create that level of psychological safety. And then outside of the box thinking. So something about humor is like it does require out of the box thinking. So you're trying to make connections that aren't already there. So big one in comedy is just like making like the most absurd connection is often funny. So Taylor Tomlinson, one of my favorite comedians, talks about this where she was like she compares dating to being a stuffed animal in a claw machine. And she's like she's like nobody like will get you or they'll just get you and then they'll drop you. And it's one of those connections where you're like, wait, I've never thought about that. But when she said it, you're like, yeah, that's really funny. So it requires that out of the box thinking and establishing those non-obvious links. And I think when you get used to that and making those connections that are like, okay, like I'm connecting this with this and they have nothing to do with each other, I think that really is important in terms of outside of the box thinking. I personally like the comparison I make, and this is a bit more of an obvious link, but I think people tend to enjoy it, is my parents are immigrants. They immigrated here from Pakistan. And I always make jokes. Like I used to work at Google before, like, and we used to get dinner or something. And if I don't like the dinner, I'd be like, oh, like my parents didn't immigrate for this, and like make jokes like that. Or just be like, oh, like this probably would be like the equivalent to my parents fleeing from their country. Like, you make those jokes and they're kind of like a comparison and it's silly and it's fun, but those non-obvious links I think are funny, but like then you can kind of apply it to your work. Actually, like a lot of people at work, like for example, like I work with Terraform or something. If they're talking to somebody and like they have something in common, this personally makes no sense to me, but like one person on my team is really familiar with car parts. They explain Terraform like car parts, and it goes over my head, but like some customers like really are like, oh, like that all fits together. And to me, that's a really non-obvious link. I'm like, car parts, Terraform, car parts, like any product. But it's interesting because those non-obvious links create that out of sight of the box thinking, which sometimes customers, if they are also familiar with that thing, they really, really appreciate. Okay, so as I kind of mentioned, I used to work at Google, and they are kind of, I guess, the poster child for like innovation. And they have the way they kind of show their innovative, creative environment is through artifacts throughout their building. So if you've ever been to a Google building, it's just colorful. The rooms are named fun things. There's like a pool table. There's like everything. And I think that they try to do it they try to like show that they are an innovative company through their artifacts. They also have different things. So they have 20% time. So Googlers are encouraged to spend 20% of their time on other projects. And they also have April Fool's pranks. So they have included Google Knows. So this was a fake search feature that you can smell things. So you would type baked cookies and they were like, you can smell that now. And I think that should exist. That's I definitely do think that should exist, but that's like they do some fun pranks there. Also, if you type some stuff in Google search, like if you Google do a barrel roll or askew or Google in 1998, they have these like little Easter eggs that they have, which I think makes their product a bit more, I guess, personable, human. They even have like the dinosaur game when your internet's not working. It's like those little things that I think are baked in all of their product, which it's innovative but also funny, and it creates ultimately like this engaging human-centered tech experience. And I think they do a really good job in terms of that. Just little tidbits and Easter eggs everywhere.
Agreed. Okay.
Why did Wi-Fi and the computer get married? Because they had a connection. This is cute. It's cute. I don't know. I like it.
I thought I was the one obligated to do dad jokes here. What is happening?
I like a little dad joke here and there. I have to say. Okay, so stress relief and resilience. Again, me with a mic. Apparently, my favorite place to be is on stage with a mic. Okay, so in terms of stress relief and humor, again, for short-term benefits, it helps stimulate your organs, it activates and relieves your stress response, and it ultimately soothes your tension. Long-term, it actually helps your immunity. So interestingly, negative thoughts can manifest into chemical reactions, and that can affect your body by bringing more stress into your system and decreasing your immunity. But when you have more positive thoughts and positive thinking, that helps to release neuropeptides that can fight stress. And it ultimately also can relieve pain. So laughter can ease pain by causing the body to produce its own natural painkillers, which I know we've all heard, like laughter is the best medicine. It's actually backed. Laughter is a pretty good medicine, so we need to be laughing more. Stress relief and resilience. So this is interesting because I'm particularly interested. I have a couple of healthcare workers in my life, and healthcare workers deal with a lot of workplace tension, and in terms of like they have to deal with a lot of stress at work in a different type of way than kind of the average individual. And it's been shown that healthcare workers use humor for different purposes, such as to relieve tension in difficult situations. So in a study, they basically created a training program, and it aimed at having an adapted humor at work. As they were trying to show that humor at work is a mechanism to deal with daily workplace stress in emergency healthcare professionals. And the results of that is that the promoting humor at work helped to reduce the effects of work stress, and they adapted, kind of showing that humor is important in their training. And I think that's very interesting that they put that in their training, because now they're kind of showing that that's the culture. It kind of ties back to like, this is what we are. And I think by showing people that humor is an effective way to have these discussions and stuff, especially when you have like high levels of workplace stress, then you're free to use humor. And workplace stress is a significant public health problem. So I thought that was very interesting as well. So it'll be interesting to see if that's kind of put into the system for trainings for not only healthcare workers, but any sort of worker. I'm interested. So Chris and I both work from home, and I'm also interested in like humor for work from home, because you can go the whole day without talking to somebody if you have no meetings. So I think companies, I would be interested. I haven't looked too much into it, but like if we should try to do more things that are like you get to meet people, you get to build those positive connections for work from home. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Chris.
I think that different folks at different stages in their like employment journey have different needs for that. I very much, like when I was younger, I definitely wanted to like be in an office where I could vibe with people and do stuff and like do the, laughing at the water cooler and things like that. I've been working from home now for like the past 10 years, and I get my chuckles when I'm talking with people. Like when you and I were doing our presentation the last time when we were emceeing together, that's when I get that fix that I need. But afterwards, I'm very much, I love like, being in the zone and being able to focus. So I think I've struck a really good balance right now with where I'm at, but it's different for everybody. So there's people that like, want to be in an office 5 days a week. They're called mad people, but I'm kidding.
I honestly, it's funny, like pre-COVID, I was in the office 5 days a week for my internship. I don't know how I was functioning, because now if you ask me to do that, if you ask me to go to the office 5 days a week right now,
do you know who I am? No, I'm not doing that.
And I actually think I'm more present at meetings now, because I don't have to deal with like you don't have to deal with as much small talk. You talk a little bit more, like, I guess it's intentional, but I think all these companies do have like a water cooler chat and stuff, where you can have like more fun talks. But yeah, I think you're right. It's definitely like stage of life kind of vibe. Like, because I'm in a talking stage. So right now I'm like, I want to yap to everybody all the time, but I need to also get my work done at some point.
and there lies the rub.
Yes. But yeah, also we were talking about successful humor. There's like, I think it's really interesting, because we also, like, a lot of people now, we work in like multicultural companies with lots of people with different backgrounds, and for humor to be successful, not only does the person who says it have to find it funny, but the receiver also has to find it funny. Otherwise, it's not. And I think that's kind of where it's interesting to see how they'll try to put it in like trainings or anything, because how do you ensure that like everybody finds it funny? And I don't think there is any way. Like, I don't think there's anything that everyone universally finds funny, because of just the nature of the world. But then on the other side, there's like aggressive humor. So that's like punching down, insulting people. That sort of stuff can't happen in the workplace. Shouldn't happen in real life either. But employees don't tend to react favorably to the aggressive humor. So I think it'll be really interesting. I don't know if people are actively trying to get more humor in their workplace trainings and workplace in general, but I'm an advocate for it.
Yeah, I don't think Anthony Jeselnik would go over really well in a wide-ranging workplace.
Yes, exactly.
Famous insult comic for those who don't know that name.
Okay, so this is Charlie Chaplin. He said, "To truly laugh, you must be able to take your pain and play with it." And I like this quote, because I think when you notice the humor in a situation, you're usually in an observer role. So you kind of take yourself away from the situation, and you're like, well, that was funny. Like, that was like when you trip in front of a bunch of people, you won't find it funny because you're embarrassed, but then you take yourself out of the situation. You're like, that was kind of funny. Like, I rolled over, toppled over. So if you are able to step back and like reflect on yourself, almost like from that external view, it's interesting, because I think that's how you become a more reflective, resilient person, because you're able to like step back and be like, that's what happened, and it was funny, and what did I learn from that? So being able to take your pain and play with it, understand it a bit, I think is a lesson that I try to take. And yes, Daniel, dad jokes are good for you. Wait, I have another dad joke. Okay, Daniel, I hope you like this. Why do app developers have such high insurance rates? They're always crashing.
Oh.
They're always crashing.
Oh boy.
That's for you, Daniel.
Where's my sad trombone?
That's so some real life examples. So this is my favorite one. So in Slack, you basically, for those who aren't familiar with Slack, you can create huddles. So on Reddit, I was like looking, and somebody was like, I was in a huddle for 0 minutes, and Slack bot actually like sassed them. They were like, you were in the huddle by yourself for 0 minutes, a productive session, we assume. I think that's funny. I'm like the tech is like sassing you. Like, I'd be so annoyed if I were that person. I'd be like, what? But then it's kind of funny, because you're like, Slack is like, I don't know, like recognizing that you were barely in that session and it was just you. I think that's funny. And I think it also is universal. So this tweet got 14 laugh emoji reactions on a Slack message. No one doing it better than me.
Yes.
I know personally, I've never gotten 14 laugh reactions, even to my best jokes. And if I did, I think I would have the biggest ego known to man. If I got 14 laugh emoji reactions, that's a lot.
That is, yeah. I have to go through my my activity and see how many I've gotten.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, these are like, for example, like people just tweeting about this. It's like, it makes Slack and work funnier, because even like when you tell a joke, you're always like, oh, like I wonder how many emojis this is gonna get. Like I think that. I'm like, how many hearts, how many party
Oh,
parrots?
everybody does. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just a universal thing. Like I think we all crave the validation of an emoji reaction. I know I personally do. Then Duolingo. So Duolingo is really interesting to me because the girl who kind of rebranded Duolingo, she is a young girl around my age, and she basically went with the Duolingo marketing. And the way trend cycles work on TikTok is like a sound will trend and it's funny for maybe like a few days. It's actually kind of crazy. Like things just go so quickly in that world. And I think what the problem other companies were having is they weren't cycling fast enough. Like they were to be, I would see ads for memes that were kind of like 4 months old. And 4 months old in like social media, like it's like it's not funny anymore. Like you're like, what's going on? But Duolingo, they were like, I don't know what capacity they gave the girl who was in charge of their social media, because she talks a little bit about it on social media too, but she was like pumping out like as they were coming. Like a sound would happen and like the Duolingo owl was already on it. And I don't know if they just gave her creative freedom and they didn't have to go through all like the checks that I guess other companies had to, but it was so successful, and now they gained 3 million followers in 1 year. It's also like super absurd. They pretend the Duo Owl has a crush on Dua Lipa, and it's like an ongoing running joke. it's and Dua Lipa, I'm pretty sure, has responded, which is so funny. Like it's it's such a like, you have to be, I don't know, it's like one of those things where it's like how long are you on the internet to know all the layers of the Duolingo owl and the Dua Lipa crush? it's a lot, but it's, I think
I'm exhausted for you just hearing that.
Sometimes I see a meme on TikTok and I'm like, you have to be so online to understand this one meme. But lucky for everyone else, I am online.
But for those 7 people, it is pants-pissingly hilarious.
Exactly. I'm like, no, you guys, you don't understand. This is so funny. But I think Duo created that community. They were like, yo, we love the Dua Lipa, and then it was like an ongoing joke. And they did the marketing really well. I think yeah, and then they like posted recently like, is the Duolingo owl dead? And they like they're really dramatic, and everyone seems to like honestly grow fond of the Duolingo owl. And I think they really almost humanized it. So I think they did a really great job with marketing. And that 23-year-old, she changed their entire format and helped them greatly. Then Microsoft. So Microsoft's another company that they kind of encourage people to use humor. And during the release of Windows 95, Jerry Seinfeld was featured, and him and Bill Gates, like, they make some jokes. So in the marketing here, it's funny because you just have Bill Gates and Jerry Seinfeld, and also they kind of try to make humor with the advertising because it almost makes the text seem less intimidating as well, if you have just like jokes about it. And then Satya Nadella also tries to have like different pieces of humor in his speeches, which I think kind of relates back to what I previously was talking about, how I think a lot of upper management needs to, like, I think when they do it, it kind of shows other people like telling jokes is okay, and it's okay to have humor in the workplace. Okay, my own experience. So this is kind of what I've learned from all of this. So I think the ability to pivot is the one thing that I like, number one thing I took away from comedy. And the reason I say this is because I make a lot of jokes, for example, about being a daughter of immigrant parents. And if I tell that first joke and I see the room isn't laughing, maybe that's not relatable for them. Maybe they don't have immigrant parents. Maybe they just don't find it funny. If I like keep bulldozing down that route and keep talking about my immigrant parents, they're not going to find that funny. They're going to be like, we didn't find you funny. We still don't find you funny. like obviously, like, it could just have been a bad joke, but in which case you might do a second joke of the same nature and see if they're laughing. But I think it becomes very clear when an audience isn't vibing with a certain level of joke. And then you're just like, okay, like, let me move. The reason that's hard in comedy is because it's not that natural to pivot. You have to have like a nice, you know how we were talking about segues? It's like, you can't have like a abrupt segue, but I think like having a nice segue is sometimes like, it keeps the audience engaged. So I've been trying to learn how to like segue a little bit better when I feel that. And I've been in situations where I just continue to like talk about the same jokes and they're not laughing, and I'm like, oh, like that sucks. But I can fix that. I just move, I just pivot. Uh, and the reason that relates to like my work is like I talk to customers and we were talking, I don't have like a dedicated customer. So because of that, I talk to so many different kinds of people and I don't know what their experience is. So I'm talking to them about Terraform, for example. I don't know if they are like, what is a workspace, what is a project, or if they like want to do like some crazy stuff that like we need to talk more about. I might get a range like from talking to like their account team and stuff, but a lot of the times like the nitty gritty, I don't know exactly what they know. I think in the actual meetings, it's easier to pivot because I'm just like, sometimes I'll do a slideshow and I'll be like, guys, is this too simple for you? And they'll be like, yeah, we know all of this. And then I'll be like, okay, sick, like let's move. And I think the ability to pivot for me was really hard because especially when you go to customer meetings, you're like, this is my script. I'm going to do it. Let's not like 6:30 to 6:45. I'm going to do this and that. But then when people start going off script, you're like, you get a bit scared. But I think that's what makes me a better SA. I think like personally,
Right.
I think when I'm able to like understand the customer and not give them information they already know or information that's over their head and they're like back up, like what are you talking about? So like you can vibe check with your customers and you can't do that as much in comedy. You can't be like, are you guys not finding this funny? Even though some comedians do. Like,
So,
you can.
immigrant parents, what do you think?
You can be like, hey guys, like is this not vibing? And then if it's silence, then it's like, oh, like I guess you guys hate that. But I think it's harder, but at least I think it's actually way easier at work because at least I'm just with like a couple of people at a time and I'm just like, what's going on, guys? Then the confidence and the ability to try new things. Like I mentioned, it took me a long time to like get over I don't know, like I don't know what it was, maybe a mental block, but I think it's very, very scary to try to go on stage and try to make people laugh. And even now I do find it really hard to do still, but I'm trying to get better at it. And I think like what it did to me is like it taught me I can do hard things. And I think like the only way to know you can do hard things is to do hard things, which sucks. It's like God, like I have to do the hard thing so that I know I can do the hard thing.
Right.
It's very I don't know, it's like a loop, but it is what it is. So now that I've done like comedy, I'm like, okay, I feel like I've done one of the hardest things that I think I could ever do, which is try to tell jokes in front of an audience that doesn't know me. So now, like when I do things at work, I'm like, oh, like what are these two customers gonna say to me that like I haven't already like I've been embarrassed in front of larger audiences, so I feel like less embarrassed and stuff like that. And I think even just taking risks because now I know that I can do hard things.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that you have to do a hard thing, and then you're like, wait, I actually am capable. I'm a capable person, and then it's like your I don't know, your view of yourself. You're like, okay, wait, but I've been able to do that. I've been able to get over, you know, when they're like, I've gotten over like 100% of my bad days. Then it's
Mhm.
like, okay, like every hard thing I've had to do, I figured it out. At the end, I figured it out. Even when I've crashed and burned in my comedy shows, I'm like, at least I went up. So, and that's hard. It's harder when you're crashing and burning. So I'm like, okay, like I can do hard things. So I think that helps my view of myself at work too.
Actually, I have an interesting question from the
Yeah.
audience. Daniel's asking, do you feel like you need to be a little more direct in vibe checking when over camera because things aren't because things just you can't pick up when you're on camera only versus in person?
I actually do think so because like I I haven't like I usually just ask. I straight up am like, "Hey, like is this too simple? Is this
Mhm.
going over your head?" Because you can't a lot of the times actually like if they're off camera, you can't even tell what's going
Right.
on. And if they're on camera, sometimes it'll show, but I think it's very rare that people show that they're confused because I think it's like not like the easiest face like somebody's talking and you're just like I don't know if people aren't doing that.
Oh, there you go. That's my confused face. Sorry about that.
Dude, I think like on the other hand, like they'll nod. They'll be like if they understand what's going on. So if they're doing maybe nothing, that could mean they're not
Mhm.
doing stuff. But it's kind of like it's so different, and especially because I don't talk to the same customers. Like you really have to like I just ask, and also if you ask directly, they're more likely to be honest. because it's not like they'll interrupt, or I don't find people will interrupt me and be like, I already know this. Usually they're like let her go through her thing. But I don't know, maybe some customers are more like that. So I just like to ask. I'm like, you guys know this? Like what's the vibe here? And yeah. But thank you, Daniel, for the question. And yeah, the last thing is breaking down complex concepts. So like I kind of talked about the immigrant parent thing, like when I go up for a 5-minute set, I'm not going to explain all the complexities of my immigrant parents and growing up with immigrant parents and why I am the way I am, even though I'd love to like just sit there and tell everyone my life story. That's not relevant to the story. And I actually think now that I do comedy, I like really appreciate a good storyteller who tells like the important things in a bit. And you're like, okay, like why does that matter? And similarly to like even in tech, when I'm like explaining things to people, they don't care about all this fluffy stuff. Like you have to think about like what does this customer care about? And let me break down what they actually care about. Because when you're telling a story, you're like, what is important to this story? These are the 5 points that I'm trying to make. When you're talking about tech, you're like, these are the 5 points I'm trying to make. So I think it's helped me in like breaking down those complex concepts as well, and being able to like just be better about realizing what's important and what needs to be said. Because a lot of the times the fluffy stuff can confuse people too. Like if you just give too much information. Okay, I think this is my last joke. So like my last dad joke. What did the hackers out of Office message say? Gone fishing.
Well, wait, hold on. I have it now. I had it
Oh,
ready.
do you have it?
I have it ready.
I love it.
Okay,
I love it. Okay, so basically, well, Chris, I'll ask you, what do you do outside of your day job that you think you can bring into your work? I know you do lots of things, one being this podcast, but what do you think is something that you think can bring into work?
I do nothing outside of work. This is all I am. This is my only thing. I think that a lot of the things that I bring into it are some of the things that I've had, like, well, for example, the psychology. Like my degree was in psychology, specializing in conflict resolution. And when I was in consulting, I found that as I got higher and higher in the echelons of consultative work, when you first start off, you're doing like a lot of the essay and the engineering work type stuff, like the actual hands-on keyboard technical things and the implementations. The higher up I got, the less of the technical things I was using and the more of the psychological things I was using, because eventually when you're in the boardroom with the C-suite, you're not arguing with like engineers about implementation specifics. You're trying to make sure that the CFO and the COO, who hate each other viscerally, can like get along long enough to make a project go forward. And so you have to make them put on their get along t-shirt and work things out. So I bring a lot of my therapy sessions into the workplace.
No, I love that. I think you having a psychology, like a major on conflict resolution, like it makes sense. I get it. I feel like you could like there's a conflict and you just be like, hey guys, like chill, and you know exactly what to do.
We have here is a failure to communicate.
Like I can see you doing that. That's so interesting. Yeah. I think psychology, I love psychology, and I honestly sometimes wish I double majored in psychology and computer science just because psychology is so interesting. Maybe I'll go back to school. Who knows?
Or we can just hang out and chat, and by transference, I'll give you all the things you need to know. It's super easy.
Love it. Also, this is
I just minimize an entire career trajectory. I apologize to any psychologists in the audience. I'm a jerk.
You are a psychologist, so well. Okay, this is the last thing. So I don't know if I've talked to you about this, but I started an organization. I don't know if we've talked about this. It's called Ctrl+She, and yesterday was our first event. So I was like, I'll talk a little bit about it and how I brought comedy and tech and everything together. So, for those who don't know, I guess I never said, I am based in Canada. I'm near Toronto. So Yesterday was kind of the inaugural event of my organization called Ctrl+She, and I have the Instagram on the next page. But basically, I decided that I needed a space where I could talk to other women about other women in tech or male-dominated fields about what we're going through, whether that be salary negotiation, workplace culture, all that sort of stuff. So yesterday I hosted an event in Toronto, and a bunch of girls show up. And yesterday I was kind of reflecting on my drive home about like how I'm bringing comedy and tech all together, because I realized you're trying to like I was there. I was trying to break the ice with people. You're trying to create connections with people, and I think that's something I get from comedy. But also the confidence I've developed through comedy, I think, kind of shows when you're like working the room and being able to talk to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Also handling difficult conversations. A lot of comedy is like you actually just make really big events seem minuscule and small, but almost like in a funny way. Like you're like, oh, but like this and that, and you kind of tell humor. So when we're having these difficult conversations, like you have to navigate difficult discussions with grace, but also like you have to make sure that we are talking in a sensitive way and not offending people. At least that's how I go about my comedy. I try not to offend people. And I think that when you're hosting a space like this, you have to make sure you're creating a good space to have those difficult conversations, but also not make anyone feel uncomfortable. And overall, just having resilience. I was kind of stressed about this event because I was like, oh, what if nobody comes? What if people hate it? But I was surprised because all the women there, I actually had guiding questions on the table for people to talk about, and people didn't use it. They were like just ready to talk. They were like, okay, everybody, like tell me how you negotiate salary. And I thought that was so interesting that it was just a group of women who were just like, I think we all needed that space. And I really think that like all the comedy I've done helped me facilitate it a little bit in a way that's we're talking about these things, but also keeping it not necessarily lighthearted, but we're still keeping it because we want to take everyone's things seriously. But I think still keeping like a good mood overall, but still being able to have those difficult conversations. So I really noticed that with my event yesterday. So I thought I'd add a little picture from yesterday. That's me hosting the event.
I super love that you're doing that too, because that's something that's really important, is having a safe space to be able to talk freely about those things, especially things like, salary negotiation, or when you're the one person in the room of a particular color or sex. How do you deal with that feeling of isolation? That's a really important thing that, especially in tech, we need to speak to. So good for you. Good on you for that.
Thank you. And I think a year ago, before I was really pushing my comedy, I don't think I would have done this. I think I've become like a level of confident that I don't think I was last year. And I think this confidence has made me been like, okay, I can host an event. Like, why not? And like, I think a year ago I would have had questions like, am I the best person for this? Like, who am I? Like all that. But I think now I'm like, nope, I'm just going to do it. And I don't know if it's just shamelessness. And now I'm like, okay, whatever. If it fails, it fails. But now I'm like, I just keep going full send for everything. And I really think comedy is what did that for me.
Awesome.
Okay, that's it for me. This is my Instagrams. Both, if you're in the Toronto area, please follow Ctrl+She. We're gonna have some more events soon, and then that's my actual Instagram. If you want to follow me as a person.
I appreciate you teaching me things on Instagram. You taught me yesterday how to add a LinkedIn, how to add a link to a thing, and I love learning from you. Amazing. So let's go back to here. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi. Amazing.
So before I forget, I did the drawing while we were given the talk, and the winner this week, congratulations to Rabani. Share screen. Where's the screen? There's the screen, and there. Congratulations, Rabani. You are the winner of this week's $50 AWS Compute Credit voucher. I've put my contact information for LinkedIn in the chat. So find me on there, connect to me, and I will send you the compute credit voucher so that you can play with some compute credits. So yay, go you. All right, back, and we're back.
Love it. I thought you said drawing. I thought you drew something.
I can draw horribly. Yes, I could make awful drawing pictures, but no, we do a drawing every week. We have $50 in compute credits that we give away every week, and this week it was Rabani who won.
Love it.
we have this like little StreamYard has a giveaway tool that just randomly picks somebody that's been chatting in the chat threads, and it pulled up her name. So yeah, super cool.
Wait, that's so cool. You're teaching me things. I taught you the link on Instagram yesterday. You're teaching me this today.
Look at it. We're all learning together.
We're all
Hearts.
learning.
I am going to be up in Toronto in the near future doing a Terraform provider workshop for one of our customers. So you know
Keep
what
me
that
updated.
means. We're going to
Keep me updated. Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
In the flesh.
So everybody sign up, or excuse me, hold on, not sign up. Where'd you go? There you go. Add Kashaf Salaheen.
Salaheen. Instead of Salaheen, it's Salaheen.
Oh, I get it.
You get it? You get it?
I'm a dummy. And Ctrl+_she. Follow those both on Instagram. You're amazing. You're so much fun. I love every time we hang out because it's just like we learn stuff together. We laugh. I call you my tiny salty cashew, and we just get along so great.
No, I love hanging out with you. It's a pleasure to even be in the same company as you.
Stop.
Greatest gift in the world.
Yeah, and now we're both IBM employees. Go us! Yay!
Well, I'm not yet. I'm in Canada.
Oh, I thought it was all of North America that converted June 1st. It's just you.
They forgot about Canada.
Oh, so September 1st for you?
September 1st.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. Well, everybody else have a wonderful rest of the evening. We will be back again next week. No, I lied to you. We're taking a break next week, so we're not going to have one next week, but the week after that, we will be back. I'm doing a little bit of traveling for multiple conferences next week. So have a wonderful night, everybody, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.